Hey, welcome to Viking Preparedness. I am Pastor Joe Fox, and if you're not watching this on the Viking Preparedness channel, somebody is ripping me off. All right. Hey, my wife and I went to see Rogue One, the Star Wars movie, the other day, date night, right? And it was kind of fun. And I have some lessons that I derived from it, prepper lessons, tactical lessons that just kind of kicked off in my mind while I was watching the movie. And so I thought you might enjoy hearing them. So stick around. All right. Date night. We don't do that very often. We went to Five Guys and had a delicious burger. Oh my goodness. Oh, wonderful burgers. And then we went to, this was in the Legends in Kansas City. And we went to the theater, and all the seats were the seats that you sit in them and you push a button and it goes back and a little footrest comes up and you can lift the middle part out so you can be with your sweetie, or you can close it down and stick your Coke there. It was awesome. And they have a new sound system, so when things go you can like feel it rumbling in your chest. So that was cool. Really enjoyed that. Wasn't that much more expensive than I thought was normal. The movie was dark, and by that I don't mean psychologically dark. It was, I don't know, it could have been a function of the theater, but I doubt it because it was a pretty nice theater. It was just really dark. Even full daylight scenes, it looked dark. I don't know, did they have lenses on the camera? Maybe it was the screen in the actual theater I was in. I don't know. But I tried to take notes while I was in there. I had the idea a little bit after I was watching this. Oh, I'll get some lessons out of this. And I didn't have any paper. I had a pen with me, and so I wrote them. Is it here? Yeah, I had a receipt, and I was like writing on my armrest in the dark. I couldn't even see what I was writing. That's how dark it was. I'm just like, and so I was trying to like do it where I could read it today, and I can read them all but one. I have one on here that says some illegible scrawl dash guns. I have no idea what my point was for that one. So there's 8 lessons that you may appreciate. They were things that I just started thinking about while I was watching the movie. Again, it's not a training flick, but I'm watching that and I think, oh, yeah, blah, blah. And so the very first thing that came to mind that I made a note of was bug out plan. Now, most of you watching Viking Preparedness have some kind of bug out plan, I'm sure. But do you have a 30-second bug out plan? Do you have a plan? My dog's playing with the curtain and it's making sunlight come in here. Do you have a plan where all of a sudden the bad guys are coming in the driveway and you've got to scoot out the back, like now or die? You might want to work on your 30-second bug out plan. What are you going to grab? What are you going to take? Where are you going to go? Immediately. Fast. I used to have those. I don't really have one anymore because I don't feel the threat personally. But it might be good to work out a plan anyway so that if the threat appears, you'll have a plan. You'll have a head start on a plan, right? The 30-second bug out plan. Have that. Another interesting concept. That's number 1. Number 2, I call it the bolt hole. It's kind of part of your bug out plan. You could call it a safe house, you could call it a bolt hole, you could call it, whatever. But your initial bursting gap, and I have some videos that I did on escape and evasion. You can search for them in the channel search box. But once you get out of wherever you are, do you have a place to go? It doesn't have to be your bug out location. As a matter of fact, it's probably not your bug out location. It has to be closer than that. But a place where you can go recoup, deal with that gunshot wound that you have, whatever, rearm, refit, grab your bug out, get out a Dodge bag or whatever, have that hidden there. Do you have a place to go where that's set up outside of your immediate perimeter, whatever your perimeter is? Something to think about. Develop a place like that, a safe house, a storage locker nearby that has 24-hour access that is rented in a name other than yours, right? Things like that. More maybe for another video at another time, but it's called a bolt hole. It's a place where you just go and you get there, get regrouped, get your head together, and then continue on your way. All right, so think about that. That was number 2. Number 3, OPSEC. I don't really remember what kicked it off in my head, but operational security is real important. And this is a movie about, Rogue One's a movie about like a rebel band resistance fighting, the powers of darkness or whatever. And so, I'm always interested in guerrilla fighters and things like that. But operational security, some concepts, everybody doesn't need to know everything. Need to know basis. If somebody in your organization doesn't need to know something, then they don't need to know it. There's also shared information that can be a combat multiplier. So there's a balance in there that you have to find. But example, and I honestly don't remember if it was this movie or something else I watched, but it's on my head, so let me tell you about operational security. If you have a hiding spot and you've gone as a group to this hiding spot and bad guys are looking for you, and then, matter of fact, it was another show I was watching, and then somebody from your group says, well, I'm out of here, guys, see ya, and they leave, or they don't come back from a patrol, or they don't come back from their trip to the grocery store or whatever, you need to move. You need to move. The whole group has to go somewhere else because that person is possibly compromised, which means they've compromised you, which means they've given up the information on where you are. So think about that for operational security. Be prepared to move all the time. Wherever you think you're safe, you should have 3 more places to go. And if you don't, you better start working on them as soon as you get there. So that's some advice you can take and run with. 4, rain gear. Boy, rain gear is important, especially at certain times of the year or certain temperature ranges. How's your rain gear situation? Do you have rain gear in your car, in your truck? Do you have rain gear at your bug out location? Do you have an emergency piece of rain gear? You know those little cheap ponchos, you can get them for about $2 that fold up this big, women keep them in their purses and stuff? Those things are amazing when you need one. A big trash bag will work for rain gear if you need to. But rain gear is important. Core temperature 98.6, right? You got to maintain that. Hypothermia is a bummer. And you don't get to pick the weather you're going to E&E in. So give a thought to some rain gear. Maybe a couple different pairs that you can keep, sets that you can keep here, there, and everywhere. 5, Overwatch. Man, what a concept. You don't see it in enough movies. Overwatch is a concept where you're doing the action down here and you've got friendlies up here or over here off at an angle looking at the same thing you are. So if you get engaged or in trouble or you're fighting, shooting back and forth, these people over here are your Overwatch and they can start putting fire on the bad guys so you can disengage, right? Overwatch is an important concept to think about. Maneuver, right? It's part of maneuver. Which again is probably another video for another time, but Overwatch is important. One of the things I hit a lot. And like I said, these things that come to my mind when I'm watching movies, they say more about me than they do about the movie, right? But there's this scene where this woman has to make this incredible leap and then grab on, that movie thing, jump 40 feet, grab onto something, and you don't fall off of it, and then you have to climb and do all that stuff. Of course, there's Hollywood there. We used to call it wire fu when you watch the Kung Fu movies. But hey, fitness is fitness is fitness, and when you need it, you need it. When you need to do that burst, when you need to do that punch, that fight, that throw, and then go, when you need to grab that person, your buddy, your loved one, put them on your shoulder and move out, you need to be able to do that then. There's no, give me 6 weeks and I'll go do a really good workout regimen for 6 weeks. Maintain your fitness. It's so important for preparedness. It's uber important for tactical things. The amount of fat people carrying guns I see on ranges that think they're ready to deal with all comers. I know, that was insensitive, right? Hey, if you want to be tactical, start taking care of your body. Go back and look at my body armor for preppers video. All right. Number 7, intergroup communications. I wrote commo. Intergroup commo. The ability to communicate with your people is huge. Not just your ham radio that can talk to wherever, but I'm talking about, and it's a maneuver thing, right? We're going this way, you come around this way. I'll go in the front door, you go in the back door. You have to be able to talk to each other. You have to be able to communicate. Whether that's texting on your cell phone, talking on your high-speed, phone mic stuff, talking on a walkie-talkie, whatever. You need to have intergroup communications, and you need to give that some thought once you get a group. I realize the vast majority of you do not have a group, but you have families, right? Does everybody in your family have one of those cheap little FRS radios? When you go somewhere in 2 different cars, do you have one of those radios in each car? Something to think about. I thought I'd remember this one. I set it down. Oh, again, it's a Hollywood thing, sort of. You see it in movies. I talked about this in my last set of tips. You shoot the bad guy and then everybody hugs. And then the bad guy sits up. Shink, shink, shink. Hey, When you have to shoot somebody, God forbid you ever do, but if you do, you had to shoot somebody. See that? I did it. If they're worth shooting a few times, right? Shoot again. You shot them dead. Why did you shoot him another time? Because I wanted to make sure he didn't get up and do what he was going to do. I mean, you're either justified to shoot somebody or you're not. And once you've shot them, if you were justified, you can shoot them. Dead people should stay dead, right? I used to have a friend who'd say, I can't use his name because he used to pretend somebody was talking to him. I'll just say Johnson. Officer Johnson, why did you shoot him 13 times? Because that's all the bullets I had, sir. Some of you aren't liking that. Okay, hey, anybody worth shooting once is worth shooting twice. I hope that was helpful. I hope it was at least amusing. The movie, what did I think of it? It was okay. I'm really not a big Star Wars fan. I've seen a lot of the movies. I did go see the first movie on opening night. I remember that, and I remember I thought the special effects just blew my mind. You go back and watch the first one now, it's kind of like, oh, they're kind of cheesy. But back in the day, that was cool stuff. Special effects were good. Weren't overdoing it. I guess it's a 3D movie, and we didn't watch it in 3D. I don't really like 3D movies, and I don't really like watching 3D movies in 2D because you can see all those scenes they put in there just to see the whoa stuff falling. Whatever. But I think you'll like it. Pretty good movie. Makes the rebels the good guys. You know, the people fighting the forces of oppression. All right. Do y'all know that song? Every man must stand behind the man behind the wire. I'll see you out there.